I'm Kay Jelly. I got this idea to make a Valentine's Day themed sculpture because I saw this. It is Valentine's Day themed fairy lights and I thought I could make something with this. I have the perfect character to pair this with, so let's go sculpt it. Here's a close-up of the lights after I've taken them out of the box. Well, bam! Oh my goodness, they're really bright. Here's a lovely character that I've come up with, and I was thinking that I could add the lights to her tail.
Genius.
And to make it a little bit more Valentine's Day themed, I was deciding between a bouquet and a box of chocolates, and in the end I decided on a box of chocolates because how cute would it be for her to hold them? Here's a quick little list of all the tools I'll be using that I've drawn up so it's easy to understand. For the first part of the process, we'll be making the base. I'm going to be making an armature out of wire and tin foil. That way the base isn't super heavy and so it can also dry quicker. But in the end that also ended up turning into a few casualties. Foreshadowing. Now that I've got my wire all done, I'm just wrapping the foil around the wire. At this point the shape is looking a little bit questionable. Oh my gosh, my hands, they hurt so much. Why is this so painful? Hopefully once I start adding clay it'll look a bit more coherent. So let's add the clay now. I'm gonna be making the clouds with little balls of clay. Pretty much the whole thing was just adding a few balls at a time, smoothing them together, and then that gives a general shape, kind of like mist falling onto the ground. Anyway, this artwork was not planned at all. It was so last minute. I had another idea for a video I was gonna do, but I put it off just to make this one, and I had to keep running to my supply store and picking up all my materials over a few days. Then I need to make a base for this to sit on. I flattened a piece of clay, and it was quite satisfying to smush all of the little clay out. It was like playing in the mud. And I carefully laid the clouds onto it so that I could get an impression of where the battery housing is going to sit. This way the batteries will be hidden and it'll sit flush underneath the sculpture. Once I'm happy with the cutout, it's time to attach the two pieces together and blend the edges. More smoothing. But once it dried, no, the cracking. I totally wasn't panicking at this point, but I didn't want to give up, so off camera, I just fixed the cracks with some diluted PVA glue and stuck it together with some tissue paper. I won't let the air dry clay win that easily. Now it's time to add the cable, and I just taped up the excess, and then I just went in with some more clay to connect it to the clouds. So now I can kind of control where I want them to sit. The clay is going to crack more because naturally air dry clay shrinks, and if you're using a lot of water like I do, then that's kind of expected. But don't worry, I'm going to fix the cracks before I paint it. And now while the tail dries, I'm going to move on to actually making the character and its body, which had its own set of issues. I made two other iterations out of polymer clay, and I absolutely despised the way it was coming out, so bye-bye to that. I just decided to make it out of air dry clay as well, off camera, because I was barely fitting me making this in the frame. But you know what? I got it done, and at this point I needed a win. This artwork took a lot longer than I thought it would to make, and I honestly was starting to give up, but oh well. And if you can see, I positioned the hands upwards so that she can hold the delicious box of chocolates. Ta-da! She is all dry and ready to attach to the tail. There's a wire coming out of her tush to give a little bit of support while I'm adding the extra clay. And this part actually went surprisingly well. I just kept adding more and more clay and more little balls to form her little chest fluff of clouds and her back as well. And doing lots more smoothing and more blending with my tools. And last minute, I felt like the cheeks needed a little bit more plumpness, so I added bigger cheeks and the little tufts of fur on the side of her face. My favorite tool for air dry clay is the stiff bristle brush, because it kind of acts like a rake to smooth out any uneven surfaces. Okay, it's all dry and a lot sturdier than I thought it would be. Before I paint, I'm doing a base coat and I'm going to be using, I haven't used it in a while, so I guess it's separated. I'm gonna be using gesso, PVA glue, and this little powder called baking soda. This is going to give the base a grainy texture because I was really inspired by like the kind of paper mache texture it's already got going on. So I wanted to add like a unique stone texture to it as well. So I was just globbing it on, making sure I get all of the imperfections as hidden as I can. Okay, it's all dry, and I love the texture. Ooh, it's so satisfying and grainy. Before I add paint, I'm going to be sketching the placement of the eyes with a mechanical pencil because I really don't want to mess up with the paint and make the eyes wonky, so this will give me a good foundation. And I couldn't decide on what emotion I wanted to invoke, but eventually I landed on like a joyful big grin and happy eyes. My poor globby paint is just pooping out. Oh my. I needed a lot of pink for the tail since there's a lot of surface area to cover. And for my first color, I wanted to go for kind of like a muted purple to contrast the pink, but in the end I didn't really like it. So I went for more of a darker pink, and that's going to help bring a little bit more depth into the tail so that it's not just all one flat color. It's better to get your ideas out than to make it perfect, because then you'll lose them forever, and I think that's worse than worrying about making something super perfect. So I hope this inspires you to just try and persevere with all the things that you want to create and not worry about it being like this amazing artwork, because I'm really proud of the fact that even though I didn't want to finish it, I did, and that's way more awesome than just throwing the idea away. And now I'm using some Q-tips to clean up all around the lights. I didn't want to worry about painting over them because I'd rather rub away any of the excess paint than trying to avoid them, because that would take way more time. Now it is time to paint the body, and I was worried that the light beige color wouldn't really cover up all the areas that I made mistakes with the pink paint, but surprisingly it did a really good job, and I didn't have to do like a bunch of coats. I just did one thicker coat. Then after smooth sailing with the body, I moved on to the eyes and the mouth, and the mouth is looking a little rough, but it's fine. And for the eyes, I wanted to paint them pretty much exactly how I do it for my digital artwork, and surprisingly it worked well, besides struggling with doing the eyelashes a little bit. Okay, this was a bit extra, but I wanted to add little glitter hearts to the cheeks, and now to seal it all in, I'm using a satin varnish. This will help smooth out any rough spots and protect the cheek glitter, and also prevent the paint from coming off. And for the final part of this process, adding the little accessories, I'm making the box of strawberries out of polymer clay because the parts are super small and finicky. It would just be too annoying to make with air dry clay. For the actual strawberries, I didn't record it, but here they are finished. I just painted some basic strawberry colors and added the chocolate drizzles, and oh, I'm getting hungry looking at them. The eye pin that it's attached to also helps give me some leverage so that I don't mess with the paint, because these things are so tiny. And here's me making the little gift box. I adjusted it with the same base that I used for the whole sculpture, and I did want the box of chocolate dipped strawberries to stand out from the rest of the piece, so I made that in a darker pink color to make it really pop. And I'm also just painting it on a little piece of acrylic so that I don't mess up the paint with my fingers. I didn't want the box to be open, so I had the idea of taking a clear piece of plastic and covering the box up with that. So while the paint on the heart box was still wet, I took an impression, like a stamp, with the clear plastic, and that gave me an outline to be able to cut it a lot easier than trying to draw around it and then cut it. And once I took the impression, I waited for the box to dry, and I sealed that in with an adorable glittery glaze, because I love adding glitter to my artwork. I felt like the box would be a little bit empty on the inside besides the strawberries, so I found some gift confetti and I chopped that up into tiny pieces to decorate the box as well. I just kind of let it fall wherever it wanted to, and then drizzled some glaze into the cracks so that I didn't have to glue each single piece down, because that would be annoying. Then I super glued the strawberries on top of it. And while I was trying to glue the strawberries down, I got super glue on my backdrop, so that's fun. So I had to bring my little acrylic plate back in. Now for a satisfying peel break.
Ooh.
Of course, the little gift box is not complete without a ribbon, so I just tied a quick little white bow on, and look how cute it came out. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy with it. I just want to eat it, but I can't because it's made of clay. While that was drying, I made a quick little bow to attach to the tail, and here's the sculpture after drying. Wow, it's so heavy and adorable. I love her. Last thing to add is the felt base, which will help protect the artwork and the surface it's sitting on from getting any scratches. I set the piece on top, and then I outlined it with a mechanical pencil. I got my craft knife and I just traced out where I'll be cutting to make it a lot easier to cut through with the scissors. Now I'm gonna brush on an even coat of PVA glue, and thankfully this piece is like 4 kgs, even though I made it hollow, so it'll give it enough weight to press down onto the felt and make a solid bond. And now it's time to add all of the little bits, and I'm just attaching it with super glue. Can't forget the little bow and the box of strawberries. Wow, here's the final reveal. Look how pretty and pink she is. And here's it with the lights on. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy with how this piece came out. And even though there were a lot of ups and downs, it was so worth it in the end. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.